Hey guys, I'm Dave.
I'm Len.
Welcome to Wargame Chat. Today we're going to talk about advertising or the lack thereof in wargaming. I mean, I understand that a lot of these companies are small companies and a lot of them are run out of the house. They're not like something where they have a warehouse and stuff, but got to do a little bit of advertising. For example, there's a convention Len wanted to go. You go tell them about it.
I don't want to name the name because
you don't have to name it, but yeah.
When I called the hobby shop that's where we were supposed to have it, they said, well, we talked to the guys before AdeptCon, but we haven't heard a word from them since. So it's like, okay, is it on or not? And since I got to drive 90 miles, I want to know this.
Yeah, I'm not going to it because I don't know if it's going on. I mean, if you're going to put on a convention, I mean, you got to have some type of website or something, or somewhere where you have a centralized location where people can get information on it. A lot of people just use tabletop.events, but then when people register on that, you have to give a cut to tabletop events. But I mean, if you have no website or something, I mean, that might be a good start.
Well, I was thinking, I looked at HMGS, which would be, I think they have free advertising, so you don't have to pay for that. And I also understand that, well, the problem is I lost the email of the organizer in the great flood we had last September. And of course, my desktop computer, the switch broke, so I'm closed off to that. So, if there was a notice in HMGS, then we'd be on to something. And I also understand if things are rescheduled or there are problems in life that you can't get, you have to do it at a different time. That has happened to everybody.
And another thing, there are places to advertise that people haven't thought of. Like we had that video on Ancient Warfare magazine. What was the medieval one called? Medieval Warfare magazine.
Medieval Warfare.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad place if you have a medieval game or an ancient game to advertise it in there. Because, these are all historians and stuff who read this and people who have a deep interest in the Middle Ages or ancients. And if you have like an ancient or Middle Age game, I'm pretty sure you're going to sell enough copies on there to make it worthwhile to pay the cost, the advertising. Like I got that video game Battle of Zama I did a Kickstarter on it. It already delivered and stuff, but I'm in the process of putting it on Steam. It will be up there in a few weeks, and after I get it on there, I might advertise in Ancient Warfare magazine, because it seems like a good place to advertise an Ancient Warfare video game. But other things like, there's a lot of wargame companies out there you've never heard of, and you're probably never gonna unless you hear about it like on a YouTube channel or like on an online forum or something, because they just don't advertise. I don't want to mention any in particular, but I think you guys know which ones I'm talking about. You've come across that too. I mean, it's like there's some of these wargame companies, when you finally find out about them, you find out the war games they have, and it's like, damn, if I would have known these guys existed, I would have bought some stuff.
Yeah. There's sometimes what happens is that you start a wargame company, and then your real life, you get a promotion and a pay raise in your real life, and that suddenly becomes the focus.
Yeah.
So, and you may not realize there are people coming in that just heard about you and maybe want to buy your games. It'd be a nice little hobby if you run it right, and get nice little tax write-offs if you run it right. So. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, if you're going to have a wargame company, it either advertise in magazines somewhere or even advertise online. I don't recommend Google ads because they're too expensive, but there's other places you can advertise online, all sorts of websites and stuff that are who desperately want companies to advertise on there, because that's the only source of income some of these websites have. So you won't have much trouble finding a place to advertise online.
This guy once told me, this was in the 90s, and he found out that DC Comics had this really cheap advertisement rate. When you compared their what they charge with their circulation, and I think it was you could buy an ad and be put in 6 issues, 6 different issues. So it's like he's looking at it. This is dirt cheap. So he put it in, and for the first 6 months, nothing, no sale.
Wow.
And then, starting in the 7th month, he got a ton of orders. It's like, I think it's the cost of, he made 3 times the cost of the ad, so it was profitable.
Yeah, that's actually a good
oddly
ratio.
enough, no more orders. So he says, I don't understand that. But
do you remember the comic books like from the 1980s? And on the last page they had something where it was like a thing where they're asking kids to like go sell their product, and then if you sell their product you get these points, and you can use these points to buy things, and they had like hovercraft you could buy and all this crap in the back of the comic book.
there was some newspaper that you could sell and get all sorts of gift prizes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wasn't the ambitious type.
Yeah, the few magazines that are left, I mean, there's not that many anymore. It's like they either have too many ads in it or they don't have any at all. You know what I mean? Like Ancient Warfare magazine, I think has 2 ads in it, one in the center and then one on the back page or something. But a magazine like that should probably have a dozen ads in it every issue.
Yeah, because I think it has like a back cover, inside back cover, and inside front cover. And
oh, is it on inside front too? Okay, so they got 3 ads per issue then.
yeah, and I think I saw some little ads in the issues, like half page, quarter page, things like that.
Yeah, I haven't come across those yet, but I've only read 2 of their issues so far. Actually, I'm on the 3rd one right now. I'm still waiting for... You told me about that new issue that came out, about 2 weeks ago? I still haven't got it in the mail yet. It's like, why do the bookstores get it before I do?
Well, that's the problem also with like S&T and also a few other... They get it a week or 2 before the people get it through the mail. Because we always thought that... there was a bulk subscription rate that was dirt cheap, but you had to wait at least 3 weeks before you got it. Well, with the newsstands, they get it real quick, and you might find a new subscriber, so it's worth the cost.
Yeah, definitely. And then like conventions too, a lot of them you can pay a small amount of money and have an ad put in their the convention book. The basically the listing of the games and stuff and the events for the convention for like a small amount of money. So that's a place to consider advertising.
You could have a little flyer. You could put it, print it out from your computer, get about a dozen flyers, and that'll be enough. And maybe put one on the wall someplace.
Yeah, they do that at Little Wars and stuff. They have that whole table out there with all those flyers and stuff where they advertise their other conventions. And then like there's a new Wargame store apparently in Chicago. I haven't visited it yet. I think it's on Northwest Highway or something. But they had some flyers there, and I took one, and that's the only place I've actually ever heard of this game shop, so they did well by putting their flyers there.
Yeah. So
Keep meaning to go over there. I don't think it's...
Where is it at?
Somewhere in Northwest Highway. I'll send you an email with the address. It doesn't sound like it's very far from here. It might be like a mile away or something.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I could maybe drop it by on the way home.
Yeah.
But, okay. Now, tell me, some people have criticized us?
Yes. Which is all fair. We're allowed to have our opinions, and people are allowed to have their opinions of us. And if they have an unfavorable opinion of us, well. Yeah, I mean, it's their honest opinion, so you can't blame them. But we've had a few times like that one micro game where. I can't remember the name of it.
The Italian battle in North Africa.
Oh yeah, Beta Fam, and that guy from People's Wargame got mad at us because he didn't agree with our review, and he basically tore us to pieces on that one forum. And what did he say? He called us schmucks and a bunch of other stuff.
I thought we called it shipping squirrels or something.
No, I think he called us schmucks or something like that. And he said that. Because we said in the review that it was like shooting fish in a barrel, Beta Fam. This is a game from GDW. And he said that they should shoot the reviewers in a barrel, is what he said.
Well, actually, I thought that was a decent one. Now, it had problems in the fact that, first of all, neither of us are familiar with the North African campaign.
Well, I'm somewhat familiar. I've read enough books on it.
And yeah, I know some people who know every sand dune out there. And I actually virtually ignorant of the North African campaign. All I know is the Italians attacked, the British counterattacked, the Africa Corps attacked, the British counterattacked, and the Americans helped clean up. And there are details I'm kind of murky. I can go into long detail about the campaign in Burma, which I'm more interested in. And so I'm looking at this like, I don't understand what happened here before, so I'm playing it as, and the thing is, for the Italians, which I played and won, it was meant to be a tough battle because they were retreating, and the British counterattacked. They turned the flank, and now they were hitting them on the road in march column. So it was a tough one, but the victory conditions were so that all the Italians had to do was be a little brilliant and they'd win the battle. So in certain ways the game was balanced.
Yeah, and I think there was one part in the review where I mentioned something about one of the rules or something and I got it wrong or something. I knew what the rule was. I just made a mistake when I said it in the review, and the guy went off about that. And then he said that these guys should be confined to just reviewing games like Risk or something. So I replied back to him and I said, hey, Risk is better than any of the games you've ever made.
Well, yeah, he generally is actually kind of nice, but I don't know, something about that review ticked him off.
Oh, yeah, well, he obviously really liked Beta Fam, and he said that Frank Chadwick, who's the author of the game, he basically said he's the master of making tactical war games or something. And I mean, that's mostly true. I mean, he is good at making games, Frank Chadwick. But yeah, sometimes when you make a review and if you don't like the game and someone reads it and they do like it, they get angry. Or if you do like the game and someone bought the game and they thought it was terrible, then they get angry because you liked the game. So you can't win.
One thing I was thinking on the internet, there's one guy, he reviewed a game by the Wargamer called The Campaigns of Marlborough. And he thought it was so complex that he couldn't even get started. And I'm sort of going, to me, this was one of the simplest games I played. That when I got the game, since it was virtually the first game I ever got on the subject, within an hour of reading the rules, it was up and playing, because they had a certain, because you had like little counters representing like formations, the armies. So it's like counter set up. Gee, there's a dozen here and there was a dozen here. That wasn't hard. And then, well, one thing the map is kind of strange because each hex is rated on how well it could supply the unit, whether it's abundant or kind of average or low scarcity. So it ends up looking kind of psychedelic. And in fact, the only problem I had with the game really is that it was so simple that after a few playings it gets kind of dull. It needed a critical, like a random event table or some political events table.
Yeah, and another game there, I can't remember the name of it. It was Task Force Games. They had it was basically a spaceship battle game. I just can't think of the name of it. I'll post it on the screen when I edit the video. But they had that game, and then they had the second version of it, and they used basically a blue naval map to represent space, which I thought was ridiculous. And people keep telling me it was too expensive back then to have black backgrounds on maps, which is complete nonsense. Look at all the movie posters back then, which cost practically nothing to make, and they had plenty of black on them and stuff. But anyhow, to this day, I still think using a blue naval map for a spaceship combat game is ridiculous.
It should be black with little stars all over the place.
And then there was the first review I did that people got mad at was Struggle for the Galactic Empire. I think I mentioned this in a video last week or the week before. But yeah, that one, it's a solitaire, I guess you would call it a space 4X game. And I didn't like it that much. it just wasn't the game for me. And I remember someone had read my review, and then they posted on the forums that people shouldn't review Struggle for the Galactic Empire unless they've been playing it for at least 3 months. I like Battles for the Galactic Empire, which we played last week.
That works well.
Yeah, I just don't like Struggle for the Galactic Empire, but there are quite a few people who really like it. Another game, this one I've never reviewed, was Labyrinth, the one I'm talking about from GMT Games. I just don't like that game. I don't like it at all. I've played the game about 7 times, and I just can't get into it. And I've mentioned on some of the forums that I don't like the game, and people are usually shocked that I don't like it, but oh well. I mean, the game's hard to teach other people to play, too, because the two sides have different mechanics, and so if you're teaching someone to play, they can't really watch and see what you're doing in order to learn what they should be doing, like in a normal game and stuff. So, but yeah, the game takes too long, and I just didn't like it. So,
yeah, there one reviewer that complained about Campaign tomorrow. He just loves Imperial Roma, the 3rd version, and it's like, gee, it's one of the. It's hard to find any game that's more complex than this. But if you like Rome, the Roman Empire, you'll love it, because part of the game is just collecting the resources and allotting, building up your armies and whatever you have to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, some people like those really complex games, but I prefer the low and medium complexity games personally, but that's just personal preference. Like I said, there's some people, if a game had a 500-page rule book and 50,000 counters, they'd like it even more.
Well, one reviewer said that, he played it with a friend. They spent about 3-4 hours playing this game in real life. And it ended up, the 2 armies clashed, and the battle decided who won. And so they are spending all this time collecting resources, building armies, gathering supplies so my armies can march on a full belly, sending the fleets the right way. And then it's like one roll of the dice decides everything. So.
Yeah, but that's all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah.
All right, see you guys next week.
All right.